I guess it was right around Thanksgiving Day, maybe a little earlier, that we started hearing the Christmas carols. Not unusual in our culture. And of course, if you go back to the stores, looking how they are preparing for Christmas, maybe October, when the Halloween decor came down and the Christmas items started going up little by little. And always for the stores to entice all of us to buy something that shows what the person who is receiving the gift means to us. So the tradition has been that we all start as children wishing for something for Christmas. So comes the song, All I Want for Christmas. I'm not going to fill in the words. You can remember them if you do. If not, that's fine. All I Want for Christmas, I thought would be a great way to begin our Advent season. Looking at the readings, it's so remarkable this year how the readings have reflected society even more so than normal. How if we put these readings on our desk and put the current news issues next to them, we would see how they would parallel and how absolutely necessary the readings are to give us insight as to how to deal with the world around us. Today, 21st century, 2025, all I want for Christmas. Look at Isaiah. Isaiah is promising through his vision a wonderful place for all of us, an ideal nation, almost on top of the world, on top of Zion. And he describes it as a place to which all people, all nations will be coming. His words, all nations shall stream toward it, and many people shall climb the mountain and say, let us climb the mountain of the Lord. Picture the mountain of the Lord, the temple, or in our case, the mountain of the Lord, heaven, or your local church when we gather for Mass. Because when we gather for Mass, we unite ourselves to the Lord. When we gather for Mass, Jesus is with us. When we gather for Mass and receive the Eucharist, we are fulfilled. We're like in heaven. Then reality strikes and we got to go out in the world. So that heavenly connection lasts a while. And through our prayer and our meditation and our thinking about it later on in the day, the journey reminds us that we were touched by Jesus in the Eucharist. And Jesus expects us to touch one another in the Eucharist. All I want for Christmas. Isaiah makes it very clear what we should want for Christmas. He was not talking about Christmas at all. He was talking about us being in the presence of God and how we would receive all these blessings and people would come to us. Why? Because from that spot, the Lord will judge nations and impose terms on those who need discipline, and all of us will beat our swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. I'm not a farmer. Many of you might be. But the image is very clear. The weapons of war will be reconstructed to weapons of life, life-giving experiences, plowing, cutting trees, eating fruit, sharing with one another. That's the ideal that Isaiah is telling us we should be going toward, the mountain of the Lord that is beyond this parish, beyond our church, but internationally available, globally available. To be in the presence of the Lord. All I want for Christmas is to be in the presence of the Lord. Should be every one of our dreams. But we've got to work toward that. And Isaiah makes no bones about it. Everyone will be attracted to heaven. Everyone will be attracted to the presence of God. But in the process, get rid of their weapons of war and hate and destruction. And work together to build a nation, a farm, a home, a family, getting rid of all the distractions and focus on, quote, the mountain of the Lord. This phrase, as you know, is written on the outside of that building, which is on 42nd and First Avenue. It's called the United Nations. Whoever made that decision to put Isaiah on the United Nations building was wise and hope-filled. To say that all nations will one day and can one day come together and get rid of the weapons of war and destruction. And I don't have to name any one nation. Look at the world. We're a mess. Every continent has a conflict. Every continent is using the weapons of war against each other. And we as Christians call for peace. And I think that's one of the major focus prayers of Pope Leo. Going to the ends of the earth and trying to negotiate for peace on our behalf. He's our Pope. He's our Holy Father. He's not God. He's not Jesus, but he's the vicar of Christ on earth, and he speaks for us, but he speaks from the scriptures. And today is a perfect example of the Christian ministry to the world. All I want for Christmas. Think of what each one of us would have to do in our own lives and families to bring that wish and dream to reality. Paul tells us, well, when you're ready, get dressed. Get dressed and go out. But wear the armor of light. So every one of us should be out there in the world covered with the armor of light and conduct ourselves appropriately, not wasting our times with orgies and drunkenness and probably frivolous expenditures, and definitely not waste our time on hate. But get dressed, put on the light, Jesus Christ. As we light the candles of Advent each week, the four will be brighter and brighter. And eventually the trees in the sanctuary will be lit. Symbolic of what we ourselves should be doing during this season of Advent. Have your party, have your shopping, have your toys under the tree or major gifts. But don't forget Jesus Christ's mission and challenge. That all of us have to beat our weapons into plowshares, beat our weapons into ordinary use. Most of us don't use plowshares and don't have pruning hooks. But we have our tongues, we have our hands, and we have our attitudes. if we can change them into instruments of peace, we will bring God's heaven, God's earth, God's presence into our lives more and more. Jesus says, start it now. Start it right now, because you don't know when the Son of Man is going to come. So, put on the armor of light and bring Christ into the world and reconstruct the weapons of war within ourselves to weapons of peace, love, and sharing.